What is going on, guys? Johnny on the track back here with another video. This is best bets and drivers to watch for. We've got a good Sunday race this weekend at Richmond. So let's get right into it. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, we can't just get right into it. It seems like we have a stranger, another person on this show. And in fact, we do. This might be yeah, he's looking around. He's looking around.
Where?
This might be, I don't know, this might be the first guest on best bets and drivers to watch for. I could be wrong about that. But this guy has been on my channel multiple times. Always gives us the fire content. He is the host of the Motorsports Ministry, the Motor Minister himself, Armani DePaul. Armani, thanks for jumping on. How are you feeling about Sunday? Well, first of all, where could everybody find you? I kind of gave you a little plug, but where can everybody find you, and how are you feeling about Sunday's race?
So, yes, I'm the Motor Minister, Armani DePaul. If you want to find me on my socials, you can find my podcast, The Motorsport Ministry, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Amazon Music. I have a YouTube channel. I just rarely use it, so mainly the first four that I mentioned. You can find me on Twitter and TikTok at Motor Minister, or if you want to support me even more, you can download the HBCU League Pass Plus app. It's free. Download the app. Channel 105, Florida Memorial University. I'm basically the main broadcaster for there. Baseball, flag football, softball, you name it. There's a sport that we have, I'm commentating on it. So if you want to support me, definitely download HBCU League Pass Plus. We're getting ready to take off. As for Sunday, new short track package. We're probably still going to see the same drivers up front who are good at Richmond, but I think it's going to be more a matter of what the variety it's going to be, especially with the tire fall off. Richmond is very known for their tire fall off. So with this new package, it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. But I'm looking forward to Richmond.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think we should be looking forward to Richmond. We did see, like you mentioned, we do have that new short track package. We were able to see it in glimpses at Phoenix, but let's remember, like, kind of different tracks. I mean, this is really the first short track that we are going to see this package debut. So it should be good. You mentioned tire fall off. I think tire fall off will be very, very pivotal. And also, I think long green flag runs are going to be something here. So I think what I'm looking at is a lot of data in terms of long green flag runs and who was good late in a run at Phoenix. So that's kind of how I look at this track. I think there's a lot to look at here, but again, I mean, this is going to be tough because it's really the first time we're going to get to see this short track package on a short track. So we can use a lot of data that we saw at Phoenix. We can use some, history in terms of the next gen car on short tracks, and we can always use driver history, right? With Harvick, you look at Harvick's dominance at Phoenix, and that always seems to continue. So, although we don't have the data we need, I think we have enough here to put some good bets together. So, without further ado, we introduced our guest. Let's get right into it. So, Armani, we're going to start with winners. I'm going to give my favorite winner pick, I guess my number one, if you will, and then I'll let you throw in a winner here. So who I want to start with, and hopefully you you definitely can have the same driver, but hopefully we don't go back to back with the same guy. So the guy I'm looking at here is a guy that has not won a points race this season, but he did in fact win a non-points race. He's smiling. I hope it's not the same guy. It might be, but that's okay. That just means that two very smart NASCAR lovers here in brain.
Here we go.
Yeah, that just means that we know what we're doing here. So I like Martin Truex Jr. To score his first win in almost over 2 years now, basically. He was the fastest car at the Clash, and I know it's a different package, but I did see enough speed at Phoenix for Truex. I feel like he's hungry. I love him at Richmond. And like I said, I feel like with where Martin Truex Jr. is at this point in his career, where we are at this point in the season, this is the best chance that Martin Truex Jr. is going to have. So far in the season, yes, it's early, but I feel like this is his best chance to get a result and get a win. I like Truex this weekend. I think he'll be fast. I feel like Joe Gibbs Racing and the Toyota camp will be pretty quick. And I like Martin Truex Jr. as my number one there.
Yeah, if you didn't guess it by my smirk, I was also going to pick Martin Truex Jr. plus 1,000
Yeah.
to win the race, which is honestly not bad for a multi-time winner at Richmond, who last year, I know he was winless, but he was still very, very competitive. Easily could have swept the Richmond races, had some cards falling the right way. So Truex at plus 1,000, I think you hit it home perfectly. Also, another one to look at for the win is Kyle Busch at plus 1,200 as well. I mean, you're talking about guys ahead of him like Bell, Hamlin, even Larson and Harvick are ahead of him in terms of betting odds. And Kyle Busch has won the most races at Richmond out of any driver in the Cup Series today at 6. Plus 1,200 for a 6-time winner who's had great speed to start off with RCR. I like Kyle Busch at plus 1,200 along with Truex at plus 1,000.
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree. 100%. I think the odds this race, and I should have said this earlier before we started, but the odds are wacky, like really wacky this week. And I think it's because, not many people really know what to expect with this package at a real short track. I mean, you look at Harvick, I think he's plus 550, I want to say he is. Is that
Harvick is plus 550.
Plus 550 for a guy that, I mean, he's been good this season. I think he's like top 3 or top 5 in the points. He's been consistent, but I mean, he hasn't had winning car speed at all. So I mean, you look at that number, you look at Byron at plus 450. I mean, there's no reason to take that bet. I mean, even if the guy wins, I would not want to say I bet on a plus 450 to win a NASCAR bet. Might as well take like the friggin' Houston Rockets playing.
Yeah, it looks the betting odds here. Like you see Larson at plus 650. Richmond isn't really one of his strong suits, even though he does have a win there. Bell at plus 750. I like that. Hamlin at plus 900 just seems too low. He won a race there last year. And even then, guys like Joey at plus 1,600. Even a guy like Alex Bowman at plus 18. Like just these odds here just out of all over the place.
All over the place. It is strange. Definitely the weirdest odds I feel like we've all seen. And I saw that on Twitter when the odds came out. I saw a couple people post and be like, what is going on here? Look, maybe the odds makers know something, but the way I look at this is there's a lot of value on the board. So somebody Armani just mentioned, I was able to get him at plus 2,000 on Rhode Island Sportsbook last night. That's Alex Bowman right now, plus 1,800, like Armani said, on DraftKings Sportsbook. To me, for that price, he is a steal. He's had winning speed at every track we've been to. I feel like from start to finish this season so far, he's been the best driver. He's the most consistent. He's won here before. And the package that we are running, his two teammates were the two fastest cars at Phoenix, Kyle Larson and William Byron. So now you throw Alex Bowman in that mix at plus 1,800. I think it's a great bet. And then I'm going to add one other Hendrick driver. I don't love the number, but the results I feel like in what we've seen, or I should say what we saw from him at Phoenix, leading the most laps, leading the race, if not for a late race caution and his teammate William Byron stealing that win, Kyle Larson deserved to win that Phoenix race. I feel like if you're going to take one of these crapshoot numbers, like a plus 600 up, it's got to be Larson. And I just feel like from what we saw in the package, in the his results at Phoenix, I feel like if you're going to take one of those trash bets, I'll call them, I would take Larson. What do you think on those two, Armani? I know you mentioned Bowman. What do you think about taking Larson at 650?
I'm not a big fan of Larson at 650 just because, he has speed, but Problem is Larson's never really been that good at Richmond. It's not really one of
Mhm.
his strong suits. Larson's more of a mile and a half guy. If we're talking about smaller than that, maybe like a Dover or a Phoenix suits him better. Richmond has never really been one of his strong suits. Even that one win he has at 2017, he really, I don't want to say lucked into it, but that was Truex's race to lose until, Hamlin basically took him out. So 650 is a little too low. If it was around 850, 900, I'd lean a little more towards it, but 650 is a little too low for my liking. I like the Alex Bowman pick. Again, a previous winner, always very fast. Not the fastest Hendrick Motorsports car, but the most consistent so far.
Mhm.
And really, at the end of the day, the consistency is what's going to get you in victory lane more times than not. So, with Bowman nearly being plus 2,000, the fact that you got drivers ahead of him like Reddick and Chastain, I like Alex Bowman at plus 1,800. In terms of a winning pick, he's probably my favorite.
All right. I love it. All right. And I agree. I mean, look, for me at least, I never like to take a NASCAR bet anything below like plus 700. But I mean, look, there's some guys there that I wouldn't say they deserve their numbers, but they've been really good to start the season. And I feel like this, we might see this moving forward. We might see Larson at a lot of these tracks around plus 700. So not great value, but I think if, like I said, if you're going to attack that number, or around that number, I would say go Larson. The other guy I'll say quickly to mention is Christopher Bell, little bit above that number, plus 750. Another guy showed really good speed at Phoenix. I like he showed to me to be a really, really solid short track racer. His most recent win is at Martinsville. And I feel like a lot of people expect Bell to be good at these, the larger tracks, the cookie cutter mile and a halves. But if you actually dig deep into Bell's numbers, he's actually quite good on the shorter tracks. So again, I don't love the number, but I do feel like there is some value in getting Christopher Bell at plus 750. I would maybe wait if he doesn't qualify well. Let's say he doesn't make the second round of qualifying. He's starting 12th to 15th. I think that number goes up, and I think you attack that number. And Armani hit the nail on the head. Kyle Busch plus 1,200. I would say attack that number now because I think he's going to qualify well. I think he's going to be up front for a lot of the race. If you're doing fantasy, I think he's going to score a lot of stage points. And he has showed really at all the tracks good long run speed. And my prediction of this race is that like the spring Richmond race last year, long green flag runs, came down a little bit of strategy. So I like Kyle Busch attacking that number plus 1,200. Any other winners, Armani, you're looking at?
Winners, not really. I mean, in terms of value, I already mentioned Bowman. Chastain doesn't strike me really as a Richmond pick. Reddick, he's had good speed so far to the year, but not really. I'm trying to think of guys who are good at Richmond. Blaney and Logano, though, at plus 1,600, though, is very, very interesting as well.
Yeah.
Those two are great at Richmond. It's like your Blaney's, your Logano's, your Kyle Bushes, who you think would be in the spots that Byron, Harvick, and Larson in. I honestly think that Blaney, Logano, Bowman, and Bush, if you're going to bet on 4 drivers to win, those are the 4 you need to bet on because I think those are the 4 who you could argue are most likely to win.
Mm-hmm.
And the most likely to win is going to give you even more of a bang for your buck than they would otherwise. I think you can make a lot of money off your Richmond picks.
Armani, spot on. Like you should do a little gambling podcast, man. You sound
I did have a segment on the Motorsport Ministry called Best Bets of the Week, except I only picked one driver.
Well, I mean, you just laid out 4 that have good value, so I don't know. But anywho, all right, let's get into top 5s. You just mentioned one top 5 that I absolutely love, and it's Joey Logano. And I just think so I don't see top 5 odds anywhere. I've looked FanDuel, I've looked DraftKings, I've looked Rhode Island.
Yeah, I couldn't find them either.
I don't see him, but I will tell you this. Joey Logano is plus 1,600. He is, I want to say, right around 10th best odds. So you're going to get plus money at the top 5. I think the odds makers are paying too much attention. And look, you have to use the data that we saw at Phoenix for overall speed with this package, but I think they're taking too much into account from that race. It's a different track. This track is not Phoenix. It races different. It feels different. There's a lot that's different about Richmond and Phoenix. I feel like they're putting too much into it. I love Logano here. And yes, the first time with that new package, he wasn't very fast. He could really never break the top 15. At Phoenix, didn't have the speed. But here's something I know about Joey Logano. He's a very, very fast learner. He knows how to make adjustments. He knows how to watch film and get better and learn. So I like Joey Logano for a top 5. I think the money that you're going to be able to get this at, maybe close to plus 350. If you can get it at that number, I think it's an absolute steal. And then real quick, I'll do my other top 5, and then I'll let Armani take a top 5. I like Kevin Harvick, and I don't know what the number would be just because he has the second best odds, but I do like Kevin Harvick to just have another really consistent run. He's made Richmond kind of a playground for himself. He's been very good at this track over the years. Had a win here last year, if we remember. So look, do I love the number for Harvick? No, but he was the second fastest car overall at Phoenix, so we have to take that into an account. He's been by far, hands down, the best driver at Stewart-Haas Racing. I like Kevin Harvick here. I like a top 5. I still, I assume you're probably going to get it right around plus 150. And even that, I think there's value there. So Logano and Harvick, 2 Fords to be top 5s. Armani, take a top 5.
I'm gonna go with the Ford. Fords were so fast. It was really down between Ford and Toyota last year. I kind of want to steer away from the Chevy camp besides the proven guys. I'm going to steer away from the Chevy camp. I like Joey Logano plus 1,600 for at the least the top 5. Again, plus 1,600 to win the race. That's a good value. And you got to imagine the value for a top 5 will probably be just as good. So Joey Logano is my favorite. Ryan Blaney probably be the second one. Blaney's someone who struggled a lot at Richmond at the beginning of his career, but recently he's finally figured it out and he's actually become a very good contender at Richmond. And then the other one, I'm going to stick it very similar. I'll deviate a little bit away from my winners. I like Denny Hamlin at plus 900.
Yep.
Always runs up front of Richmond. He won a Richmond race last year, finished 4th in the second. I know this is a different package, and I think he ran okay at Phoenix, but I'm imagining you're still going to see the same guys up front, regardless of the package. We see this every time. If you know how to run this track, you're going to run well at it regardless. So Denny Hamlin at plus 900 at least to win. I'd imagine his top 5 odds are still going to be in the pluses. So I like Hamlin at plus 900.
You make a good point, and again, I feel like this is not enough of this is going into the point you just made, where if you know how to run Richmond, you'll be good at Richmond. And Richmond, like New Hampshire, they're interesting kind of short tracks. It's similar to New Hampshire. If you know how to run New Hampshire, you're going to be good at New Hampshire. So I agree with what you're saying there. And man, it just goes back to like the odds here are really interesting. And so what I see here is Hamlin. If I look at the stats, he was about the 7th fastest, 6th or 7th fastest car at Phoenix. So you couple that with what Armani said, the good history that he's had at Richmond, I think a top 5 with the value you can get that number at is going to be pretty good. So there we go. There are our top 5s. Let's finish it off with some top 10s. I think top 10s are tough. Well, actually, and I also let you have a dark horse, so we gotta get to that too. But top 10s, I think top 10s here are going to be tough. But here's what I'll say. I feel like, where did we see, Armani, I'm going to ask you this question. Where did we see Stewart-Haas Racing have their best kind of collective group finish? Do you remember where that was?
I'm going to assume, are you talking about this year or last year?
This year.
I'm going to assume it was Phoenix.
Well, no, actually, it was the Busch Clash. The first,
Oh, so we're going way back.
We're going way back. So, but really, the only short track that we've been to, Stewart-Haas Racing, Priest led the most laps in the race. Eric Almirola started on the pole. Chase Briscoe was okay. He wasn't great. And Harvick was a consistent, upfront guy, which he's been all season. But I feel like this is a track from how bad Stuart Haas has been. This is a track that I think can slowly but surely start to change the tide for them. Almirola has had really good success here. And from what I saw with Ryan Preece early on, if he is going to be a guy that can be anything in the Cup Series, it has to start with tracks like this. Your Richmond, your Martinsville, your Bristol, your New Hampshire, the shorter tracks where, true speed kind of goes out the door and it turns into who's a good short track racer, who's good at strategizing, who's got a good solid crew chief, and who knows how to run these tracks. So to me, two people that I like here, I would say three. I would say all the Stewart Haas racing, you're going to get big plus money on top tens. That starts with Almirola, that goes to Preece, to Briscoe. Briscoe plus 5,000 to win, Almirola plus 5,000 to win, Ryan Preece plus 13,000 to win. Again, let's not forget, just about a month and a half ago, Ryan Preece led the most laps at the only short track we've been, on truly this season. So I do think, going back to your point, I think Ford's going to be pretty strong here. They've showed the last couple of years that they've been pretty strong here. And I feel like there's going to be some value on a Stewart Haas driver to get a top 10. I would probably look at Almirola. If I'm not mistaken, he started either on the pole or on the front row here last year at this very race. So I do think there is value in Stewart Haas for a top 10.
Yeah, I agree with that. Almirola, so he started 32nd last year and he rallied his way all the way up to 8th. So I definitely do like Almirola in terms of a top 10. Stewart Haas is going to be very interesting, like you mentioned. Ryan Preece, these are the types of tracks that he's good at. So this is going to be the type of track that we see. Is Ryan Preece really that guy? Is he someone that Stewart Haas Racing can really build on? Chase Briscoe, I think, is another track that, the Fords can really, start to work their way up through the field. And because the season's been dominated by Chevrolets, I think this is the track that the other two manufacturers can really start to take a hold over the Chevrolets. Another driver who is someone to keep an eye on for top 10 as well. And I might mention him later on. Chris Buescher of plus 2,800. He actually finished top 5 in this race last year. He finished 3rd in the fall race at Richmond. So this is another driver who's really good at these types of tracks. Obviously won the Bristol night race. So keep an eye on that 17.
No, I like that pick. I like a lot of Fords here. I mean, you look at Cindric at plus 10,000. There's probably some value there in the top 10 for him. I know, when you think of Cindric, maybe you're not always thinking like a Richmond. But I do think for the value plus 10,000, Eric Jones plus 10,000, like for these winners bets. So there's definitely going to be value around the board. It's really interesting the way the odds just drop. I mean, you go from guys, Truex at plus 1,000, then you have like a Bowman at 1,800, a Keselowski at 2,500. Then it's like dropping way down, like a Bubba Wallace at plus 5,000 for a win. Like I feel like there's value there. So although it's top heavy with guys that there aren't, there's not much value to, it's very, very spread out this week for some long shots. And speaking of long shots, how about a long shot dark horse that you are looking at this weekend?
So I mentioned the 17 of Buescher. I did think about giving him my long shot. I'm actually going to give it instead to his teammate, Brad Keselowski, is plus
Love that
2,500.
pick.
This
Love
is a
that
guy
pick.
who's won at Richmond multiple times. 16. They've had a lot of speed this year. They're top 10 in points, I believe. They've had top 10 speed, if not top 5 speed, all weekend long. So Brad Keselowski at plus 2,500. Do not be surprised if he's at the finish at the end.
I love it. No, I love it. And Brad Keselowski has been sticking in my head for tracks like this. I have him, and here's what I hope. And I feel like it's going to happen. I feel like he's going to be close to a win throughout most of the season, not have one. We're going to get to New Hampshire. His odds are going to be like plus 4,000, and I think he's going to get it done on New Hampshire. But it's this style track. It's this style track that Brad Keselowski can shine at. And it's weird because last year, like, these were the tracks he was strongest at. This year, he's been really, really good at the 1.5 miles, surprisingly, which I feel like not a lot of people saw coming. But I love that pick at Keselowski, his teammate, Busher, plus 2,800. So definitely good value. We talked heavily about the Ford camp, but I do think for a reason, I think Ford is going to show up this weekend in a big, big way with, a statement either win or a statement, maybe 6 of their cars in the top 10, something like that. So we talked about a lot here. We covered a lot of drivers, but I'll try to go through all the drivers we mentioned. So Martin Truex Jr., winner at plus 1,000, Alex Bowman plus 1,800, Larson 650, Bell 750. Who else did you throw? Keselowski there at plus 2,500. Kyle Busch at plus 1,200. So a lot of value on the winners. Top fives, we talked about Logano and Harvick, and then top tens, we looked at that Stewart-Haas camp. So, and Busher as well. I forgot to mention Busher. So a lot of value on the board, a lot of things you can attack. I would say what Armani kind of echoed there. If you're looking at 4 winners this weekend, Truex, Busch, Blaney, Logano, guys like that, where you can find a lot of value. And then you can do your safe bets with the top fives, like, Larson top 5. I think that's a safe bet. Bell top 5. That's a safe bet. But if you're looking for a winner this weekend, you can hit big, ladies and gentlemen, because I placed a big one last night on Bowman. So I'm rooting for Bowman to get it done.
Now you gotta put him in our fantasy.
I know. Well, I was thinking either him or Truex, but I saw you take Truex, so I was like, damn.
I took Truex, but I might change it to Harvick.
Harvick would be, yeah.
But I want to save Harvick for the end, because something that I also noticed that Stewart-Haas tends to be better in the later portions of the regular season. So that's when I'm saving Harvick.
That's true. That's a good point. But I still think he'll be really good this week and rack up points.
He'll be in contention.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was best bets and drivers to watch for. Should be a great, great race this Sunday at Richmond. I think, like I said, maybe we could see long green flag runs, which could turn into maybe a fuel mileage race, maybe a strategy of, when to take tires, when to come in and pit. I'm excited for this race. I think this is going to be a really good, solid race. Armani, again, just so we can reiterate, where can the fans find you?
So you can find my podcast, The Motorsport Ministry, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Amazon Music. Basically, what my podcast is if you guys have watched The Herd with Colin Coward, pretty much he takes sporting topics and he paints a different picture, kind of a picture that maybe not a lot of people will paint. I kind of cover in that same light, so I'll take topics that people talk about and I'll paint it in more of a light that casuals can understand, and on top of that, a different light that maybe some other content creators may not understand. So if you want to hear the same kind of topics but a different perspective, the Motorsport Ministry is just for you. You can find those on those major platforms. You want to follow me personally, you can find me on Twitter and TikTok at Motor Minister. And if you want to support me even more, download the HBCU League Pass Plus app. It's free. Check out Channel 105, Florida Memorial University. I'm the lead commentator on all of our sports. So you want to support me even further, download that app, HBCU League Pass Plus. I know my director's going to like that I put a couple plugs in.
There we go. All right. Well, there you have it. The Motorsports Minister himself. Again, I'm Johnny on the track. You guys know that. Make sure at JOTT_podcast on Twitter, you give me that follow. You can find all my bets there. And of course, Johnny on the track on Action Network for any bets placed post-practice, post-qualifying. So there you have it. Richmond this Sunday. For Armani DePaul, I am Johnny on the track. Thank you all for watching. Like this video and make sure you subscribe for more content. Thanks.